wanted to make you aware of this. And now in the Mueller trial, as you probably heard, today the defense rested. They didn't call a single witness. They didn't call Manafort, which is a good idea because his words could be twisted by a prosecutor. But in any event, they didn't call a single witness. I hope that was the right decision, because my eyebrows went up and my ears perked when I heard that and read that. I hope that's the right decision. They must think they have a pretty solid case, that the prosecution didn't make their case. Maybe they do. There's also going to be another trial in Washington, D.C. So Manafort will be tried there. Typically, or often I should say, cases like this are combined so there's one jurisdiction, but Mueller has as his purpose to make everything as difficult and painful for Manafort as possible. Look, innocent or guilty, he's still an American citizen. Let me tell you the irony of this. We have people who had a compound, and have one, in New Mexico where a 3-year-old baby died, where there were weapons, where the individuals involved are a grave danger to this country, where they were allegedly, I underscore that, training some children to use weapons, reportedly and potentially in schools. They are free today. I believe the bail amount was $20,000. They're free today. Paul Manafort, who for the last several months has served in a federal prison in solitary confinement, who hasn't been convicted of anything, and the charges against him all relate to non-violent allegations with no past history of legal violations. Nobody's died. He's not threatening anybody. He's not training children to do anything. And yet he has served time in prison without being convicted of anything because the prosecution told a Obama-appointed judge, a leftist in Washington, D.C., that he was trying to talk to witnesses or trying to talk to other people and so forth and so on. Now, they didn't prove their case. These are allegations that the judge considered compelling and persuasive. So I just wanted to point that out. So that's the Manafort case. Mueller's chasing all over the world. He's been all over the world, as people have, chasing down leads, any lead they can think of, that involve Russians. Russians. And let me circle back to the beginning of the program this evening. This entire Russia stuff involving the Trump campaign was a pseudo-event, a phony issue, planted by the Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC through the dossier, executed by Obama officials at the FBI and elsewhere, given voice and support by the media, the free press, the pseudo-media. And that's how we got here, and that's why the president's furious. So people who sit back on their butts with microphones in their face or cameras in their face saying, the president might not want to react this way. The president may not want to tweet this way. I've been involved in cases like this where people have been set up, or the liberty and livelihood of individuals have been on the line. I was a lawyer in the Iran-Contra case, defending the former Attorney General of the United States, Ed Meese, and the outrageous lies that were held in his direction by an independent counsel, for which he was always innocent and for which he was never charged. And we went through that, as did other individuals, for 7.5 to 8 years. I watched as Caspar Weinberger was indicted on phony charges in horror. I watched as a prosecutor went after the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, and believed he should have been impeached. I was involved in these Star Chamber proceedings under the Independent Counsel Act, where I spent 2.5 months. 2.5 months in a vault, in a room, in the basement of the Department of Justice, having to read into a microphone, because I wasn't allowed to transcribe the information, grand jury testimony, that Mr. Walsh, the independent counsel, was free to put in his report that would go public, but I was not free to transcribe to share with my client. I've seen these Star Chamber proceedings before. And luckily, we fought like hell, and we won. But the damage was done when they put out their report and try to influence history. If Lawrence Walsh and the Iran-Contra matter and his investigation, if he had had his way, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, George Shultz, Caspar Weinberger, Ed Meese, all of them would have been guilty of some nonsense. And they were guilty of nothing. Nothing. And so when I sit here with my own experience as a lawyer who's been in these battles, and I watch what Robert Mueller is doing, I am disgusted. I know what he's doing. I know what his prosecutors are doing. I know what his investigators are doing. I know what these judges are doing. And it's a damn shame. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.